No one is above the law. We shall respect the decision made by a jury of a criminal defendant's peers after analyzing the evidence and determining laws were violated. We must respect such decisions. These are the words that you're hearing from Fox News hosts about the conviction of Donald Trump. Hunter Biden. The exact opposite that we heard whenever Donald Trump was convicted. Now, luckily, some people, like those on the pro-democracy side of this conversation, are consistent. I'd put myself into that category and think that both Donald Trump and Hunter Biden got their due process and they got their jury of their peers, and we should respect the outcome of that process. But interestingly, there's some inconsistency, if you could possibly imagine it, in MAGA world, where all of a sudden the justice system is doing the right thing with Hunter Biden, but somehow Hunter Biden, the son of the president who you're saying is pulling all the strings and rigging the entire justice system to benefit himself and hurt his political enemies, for some reason he's pulling the string that convicts his own son. And it's crazy stuff going on in MAGAville. And I'll note, if you missed this, that Hunter Biden was convicted on charges related to purchasing a firearm when he was still addicted to drugs. So while this is, of course, a very dark day for Hunter Biden, for his family, no doubt, President Joe Biden, on a personal level, the response from even those who are nominally on Hunter Biden's side, in the sense that they think his father should win re-election, as I do, we're able to respect the outcome of our legal process. Not the same consistency on Fox News. Before I get to a moment from the five that is priceless, that shows you how this news is just cracking open the brains of some of these hosts, I do want to show you a split screen, a compilation put together and played on Abby Phillips' show on CNN that gives you a sense of the differences in rhetoric of Trump's conviction and Hunter Biden's, and shows you the cognitive dissonance that's going on here as hosts try to grapple with, how do we keep the narrative going that Biden has rigged the whole justice system to benefit himself now that his son is convicted? Here it is.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans and our faith in the criminal justice system. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family, and they recognized that this was a clear-cut case and that clearly no one's above the law.
This is a very political exercise, and you have to say that it accomplished what it set out to accomplish.
But I would say this about Judge Noreika. I think she ran a very fair courtroom. She ran a very fair trial.
I guess we all need, to shop at Banana Republic from now on? Because that's what it feels like. Yeah, a Banana Republic.
For years,
That's not what that means.
the Bidens have been able to escape any legal accountability for their sleazy, corrupt conduct. But today, their luck ran out. At least Hunter's did.
The world is ending. And that's why you need to buy my emergency preparedness kit for your bunker. No, of course not. But that's the message that people like Alex Jones deliver to get their followers to buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of junk at their store and pills for all sorts of things. I don't do that. Main way you can support the work that we're doing is free, and it's just clicking that subscribe button. If you haven't done it already, make it happen.
Power is all they love. And they're willing to do anything to cling to it. They're willing to destroy the rule of law. The Republic has been wounded by weak lawyers and talentless political bloodhounds. It gave me a little boost of confidence in the American legal system, although they still have a lot of work to do to win me back.
I believe that there was a conscious collusion of allies that came together. It's pretty obvious, with a private strategy to eliminate a common shared adversary. Hunter's going to jail, so Joe doesn't have to. And when he comes out, he'll be rewarded for his loyalty, like a made man in a Biden crime family. This is a distraction from the influence peddling and the kickbacks.
When your presumptive nominee is a convicted felon and has a long history of surrounding himself with convicted felons, someone who took in millions upon millions of dollars from foreign governments through his businesses while he was president, whose children got advantageous business situations because of their position in the administration. You have to project that onto the other side's nominee, which is what you're hearing there from Greg Gutfeld. He's saying that this, even though it's devastating for Hunter Biden, is just the sacrifice that Joe Biden's willing to make it seem like the justice system is not rigged and take his son down so that he's protected somehow from the prosecutions that would otherwise be coming his way for the crimes they've yet to obviously prove, but even articulate what the crime would be that they're proving. And James Comer has been such a failure in his investigation that he's reportedly telling colleagues he's hoping Jesus will come down to get him out of this horrible situation he's stuck in where he doesn't have proof of anything, but also doesn't want to admit that he doesn't have proof of anything. So instead of having a mea culpa, instead of having a moment of introspection, and then coming out to the viewers of Fox News, as I've said so many times, and saying, hello, viewers of Fox News. Hello, Luke's uncle. No, I'm here to tell you we've been lying. We've been lying to you, and we're sorry. Instead of doing that, they are pushing all these contradictory narratives. Greg Gutfeld saying this is the sacrifice Joe Biden's making. Throw his son into the fire so that he can stay safe from his own rigged justice. I don't even know. But then you have some people say, see, liberals don't want to accept it, even though liberals are. But this is the Biden family getting accountability because Hunter Biden was an addict and was troubled, purchased a gun, shouldn't have, being held accountable for it. You have people saying this is just smoke and mirrors and Hunter Biden is not actually going to be punished in any way. All these different things. And it was interesting to see a liberal go on the 5 and just be rational, level-headed about it. And that's contrasted in a major way against the Greg Gutfeld brain crumbling that's going on, as you'll see.
Sure. So last week I participated in jury duty for 2 days while we were going through the selection process, and you got rejected. I sure did. But what I learned, and the people that I met there were regular people who had to take the day off from work or 2 days off from work in my case, and the people who were in my voir dire process's case. And they really were committed to this process. They answered the questions fairly. They answered them honestly. And so this is just to Jesse's point, like you have more confidence in the system today. I was reassured that the system worked, and the idea that you could have a rigged jury was almost practically impossible. There were 60 of us that were part of this process. And so what you saw today were 12 people, and you saw one of those jurors speak out, and you have 12 people who come to make a decision, as the judge said, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and they're trying to get it right. And so anybody who disparages everyday citizens who go down and do this process, somebody who participated in it, don't do that, because these are everyday Americans who are participating in their responsibility as a voter and as a citizen. And so they made the right decision here because that's what they're supposed to do. And now we're going to have to see what happens. Barring an appeal, it's very likely that he will have some sort of punishment. And I think it's important to remember that he is not, like I said yesterday, he's not running for office. He's not hired in any part of the Biden administration or at the DNC or at the Biden campaign. And now this is a family that's going to have to deal with the fact that their son has been found guilty of a real charge. And he's somebody who's been through a lot of trauma in his life. And now we're going to have to see what happens.
But that's the key thing. Like you said yesterday, this is about Hunter. It's supposed to be about Joe. So this whole thing is going to be like,
this case was about Hunter. It's supposed to be.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll end there. No point.
And nicely shutting down Gutfeld there. But what on earth did he just say? This reminds me of a time on Fox News when some host said, why do we always have to hear about Hunter Biden? I don't care about Hunter Biden. Why are we always talking about Hunter Biden? Because it's you. You're the one bringing him up all the time. President Joe Biden would love nothing more than for y'all to stop being so bizarrely fixated on his private citizen son, who he has not brought into his administration, who's not running his campaign, who's just his son. And you have this weird fixation where Marjorie Taylor Greene is showing nudes of him in Congress to try to hurt Biden. it's been said before, but there's this really demented part of this, which is that people know a way to get to Biden, President Biden, to hurt him is through Hunter Biden, through his family. So that's what they've been doing. And so Greg Gutfeld, as you're just struggling to get your brain around this news because it flies in the face of the lies you've been telling for months and these other Fox hosts as well, and years, maybe the answer is not, oh, well, really we should be talking about President Joe Biden, but you're the one obsessing over Hunter Biden all the time. And this case is about Hunter Biden. If you could ever bring forward proof of wrongdoing on the part of President Joe Biden, then we'd have a conversation there, but you failed. But maybe the answer is you're just wrong about this. Maybe that's the answer. You're putting all of this mental energy into trying to connect dots, and Biden's rigged it to hurt his son, to make it seem like it's not rigged, but it's really rigged against Trump. But the jury of Trump's peers determined unanimously, based on the evidence, that Trump was guilty. So maybe Trump was guilty, but the case shouldn't have been brought because that was the rigging. But I guess if there was evidence of wrongdoing, is it a violation of my principle to not have law and order? And maybe instead of trying to connect all these dots to keep your narrative intact, you just admit you're wrong. And that's okay. And we love you for admitting that if you're willing to. We won't mock you for admitting that. Sometimes people are wrong. You happen to be so deceptively wrong, so dedicated to convincing people of something that is not reality for the purposes of the profit that comes with that for Fox News and the political ambitions. But maybe you just admit you're wrong. And I guess I'm less so speaking to the Fox hosts because they're not going to, but instead some MAGA person out there. Maybe this is good. You should be excited. Guess what? The country's not as bad as you thought. The justice system is not as rigged as you thought. You can take a deep breath. You can turn off Fox News and go out and have a barbecue. Just live your life. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments, and you can get access to the Daily Bonus Show by clicking that join button below.